Wait and continue to get set up. Gonna make sure everything turned off so we won't hear ringing in the background. Good morning, Brother Earl. I think I saw you. Good morning, Brother Wilford. I think I saw Joyce. Good morning, Sister Valerie. Sister Rose. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning as we continue to talk about fear. Good morning, Sister Tasha, Alexander. Good morning, Brother Todd. Good morning, good morning, good morning. As I said, we're a few minutes early because I accidentally pressed the button as I was trying to get set up. But nonetheless, we're here. We are here. And thankful to God for being here. Good morning, Sister Johnny.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank God for another day where we can enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. We are thankful unto him on this morning, the day that he made for us. Good morning. Sister Jasmine. Hey. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about the fear that God does not see me. Good morning. The fear that God does not see me. We'll let a few more jump on the line.
It's not hitting 8 o'clock.
Since we're just now hitting 8 o'clock. Good morning. Sister Connie Crosby. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. We're glad y'all are joining us this morning. Glad to have you join us. Good morning, Sister Lisa Peters. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sister Loretta. Sister Tanisha. Good morning, y'all. Sister Shamina. Look, I have my glasses on and I'm still having a hard time seeing. Brother Marcus.
Marcus.
Good morning. I'm trying to get this figured out.
Like my wife said, we're going to talk about the fear that God doesn't see me. And I thought about this. She asked me why did I think about this, and I just thought about my own life and just how it's progressing. And so if I feel that way, I'm sure there's other people that sometimes God doesn't. I feel like God doesn't see me, and I believe it's okay that you feel that way. You just don't. Those are the times that you really need to have those conversations with God about what's going on with me, what's going on in my life, what's going on with the situations around me. So, do you see me, God? When you read through the Bible and study the Bible, you see that they ask those questions. They ask those questions. God, do you really see me? But we know that he sees us at all times. We are ever before his presence. We are ever before him. But in dealing with our humanity, we feel that way. You can be in a room with somebody and feel that they don't see you, that they don't hear you. And so if we feel that way with people in the room, I can only imagine that sometimes the enemy will magnify it, and life situations will magnify that does God really see me?
Right. Does God see me? So as you gather your minds and you have to get your thoughts and your responses ready, because we're talking about, and it's for all of us, because we, at some point in all of our lives, we feel like we are invisible, whether that be with God or whether that be with other people. At some point, we feel invisible. So get your thoughts ready in regards to God seeing us. And as we started, I guess, talking about this on Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever we started talking about it, I was honestly, I was like, oh, I'm not really feeling this, but okay, if that's what you're feeling, I'm not feeling this for this type of setting. But nonetheless, there is something in us in times in which we feel like God does not see us, or other people don't see us, where we feel invisible, like when it makes us feel unimportant. Those times in which we're not able to describe what we're really necessarily feeling. So today we just want you to know and to expound on the fact that God sees us. And as I told you a little earlier, but we're going to go ahead and get it started. It is 8:03 and we're going to go ahead and get it started.
Okay, and the scripture I chose was Psalms 139, and it kind of personifies that we know God sees me, and the psalmist personifies and exemplifies that there's some things that about me that God doesn't see, that I don't know that He does, but I acknowledge that He sees that about me. And I'm just read this. Psalms 139, starting at verse 1. O Lord, Thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thoughts afar off. Thou compassest my path with my lying down. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, Thou knowest it altogether. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and hast laid Thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from Thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from Thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, Thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, Thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall Thy hand lead me, and Thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from Thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike unto Thee. For Thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise Thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are Thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from Thee, when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect. And in Thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when there was yet none of them. How precious are Thy thoughts unto me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with Thee. Surely Thou wilt slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men. For they speak against thee wickedly, and Thine enemies take Thy name in vain. Do I not hate them, O Lord, that hate Thee? Am I not grieved with those that rise up against Thee? I hate them with a perfect hatred, and I count them mine enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me, and know my thoughts. And see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. And when you read that psalm, you gain an understanding of how great and how magnificent and how awesome God is and how merciful He is. Because He says, you know my thoughts are far off. And so we don't know what's all in us sometimes, but until we reach that place. But God, the Bible says He knows our thoughts are far off. And so when those thoughts or some of those things that come our way, and we start to feel ashamed, but we have to have word to help us, guide us through those seasons where we are stuck, where we are hurting, we are feeling lost, because the word said, I am ever before God. There is no place that I can hide from Him. There is no place that He doesn't see me. And so that can be comforting. And I really take the thoughts. He says He knows my thoughts are far off. When I'm not thinking right, He still loves me. He still sees me. My life was already planned out and written in His book. He said, I already knew this about you. And I just see the compassion and the mercy of God in our lives, because sometimes when we find out stuff about ourselves, it can be quite devastating. It can be earth-shattering that I didn't know this about me. I didn't know, but God says, I already knew. I already got a plan. Just calm down. Just work through this together, and we'll get through this. I'm with you. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm leading you. He said, God takes our hand.
Right. And to see means to be aware of, to be made visible, to behold, to consider, to encounter, to examine, to experience. God has experienced us, to face, to find, to gaze. When God gazes upon us, when he looks upon us, and God pays attention to us, to give attention to. I see you. And it's just not dealing with the outward part of us. It's dealing with, when we look at people, we see what's going on the outside. We see how they're dressed. We see what their face look like. And those things are good, but those things can be a mask. God says he sees beyond the physical. He sees beyond what's going on the outside of us. He goes into the depths, into the heart, into the soul. He can see beyond what the mere eye can see. So God sees us. He gives attention to us. He gives attention to those things that no one else can give attention to. He is the God that sees us. And then, his eyes, the Bible says his eyes are in every place. He beholds the good and the evil. That's Proverbs 15:3. He's able to see the good and the evil. There's not a place where you can go where God cannot see you. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable for you to be able to go to a place where God is not able to see you. God has access to us at all times. He has access, unlimited access. So since he sees not just my outward man, he sees my inner parts. He knows what I'm going through. He knows what I'm going through, and he's a God who is able to be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. He knows it, and then he's there to help us. He's there to help us, and he takes note of everything. And the good thing about God is that he's not just surface. He's not just on the surface of things. He takes notes of everything, and he takes note of what happens. A lot of times we see people and we say, oh, they did a good deed. Oh, that was good. They're a good person. But we're not able to discern the heart and their intentions. We don't know what their intentions are and what's really in their heart. So what we deem as good may not actually be good because we don't know what their motives are. But God is able to see past that. He's able to see the motive. So the fear that God does not see me. God sees everything about us and he still loves us. God sees everything about us. And oftentimes one of the things we had on here was, why do I feel like God don't see me? Why do I feel like God is not looking at me? Why do I feel like God is not paying attention to me? And some of the things I have is because of pain, suffering, grief, torment, feelings of abandonment. When I've been through things in life, it makes me, and we say God is everywhere and God sees all things, and he is omnipresent. But when I, as a child of God, see all these things going on and I experience life, the pain, the suffering, and the grief of life, and sometimes I feel like, okay, God, but where you at? I'm looking all around. Where you at? Where are you? If you see me going through these things, why haven't you come to rescue me? If you see this has been happening in my life, why haven't you come to rescue me? If you're such a good father, why haven't you come to rescue me? Man that is born a woman is a few days full of trouble. We're going to go through some things. James said yesterday, it's not to say that the things are not going to happen to us, but when they happen, we have an anchor in Jesus. We have hope in Jesus that he's going to see us through, that he's making a way for us. So we have to stand on him. So why do I feel God does not see me?
And so when you go through life is not fair. Life is not always good, but God is good. And that's what we have to understand. And those where the lines get blurred sometimes, because when we look on people, a lot of times they're supposed to represent God, especially parents, people who are watching over us and people guiding us, and they don't exhibit or know how to exhibit the characteristics of God. And so when we get older, we learn not to trust. And that's been one of my biggest issues in my life is I don't trust easily. I do not trust easily. And when we were talking about this, it just brought back some painful memories because I don't trust easily because of the experiences I went through. And it's just hard. It's hard for me to develop relationships like that. It's hard. And it just brought me to tears. And we were just talking last night, and it brought up some stuff that I'm still angry about. It's just like, it shouldn't have happened, but it did. And I'm like, Lord, I just felt so helpless in this matter that it still was unresolved to me, because I even went back and addressed it with a place where it happened, and I told the administrators, you were wrong. You were wrong for doing this. You were wrong for doing this to me. You were wrong. And I'm just like, and it still hurt. It's been almost 15, 20 years. But I go to this place almost every day. And I'm just like, and then that memory still there because part of it's still unresolved for me. And I'm like, God, do you see the pain that this caused me? Do you see the hurt that this caused me? And I'm just like, and Andrew was just talking to me, and it just like, I was still upset. I was in tears last night because I said, this hurt too bad. And it just like, they just wash it on the table. Like, oh, okay, it's over now. It's not. And I'm like, God, you have to help me through this. Help me not to take revenge. Help me not to get back at these people. But he's helped me. He said, but at a time when he says he sees me, and at the same time he says, I have your life written out. It didn't destroy me.
Right. And knowing that he sees us, we also have to be aware that when we go through things, he said this has been a process going on for years. When we go through things, since God sees us, he puts things in place to lead us out of those dark places. He puts word there. He put people there. He put other situations where we can see his goodness. Because sometimes we can focus so much on the things that we think God is not seeing that we miss what God has already done. God sees us, so we have to change our focus and gaze upon God. We're gazing at the thing, but we don't gaze upon God. So we have to change our focus to where we gaze on God, to see him. One of the definitions I told you is to we have to make God become visible, to gaze at him, to give attention to God and not to continue to give attention to that thing that's hurting us. Because when we give attention to the thing that's hurting us, it's like we're still there. We talk about it and it's almost like this is happening to us, right? It's present because we've been gazing at the thing. But when we give attention to God and his character, we see the grace and his kindness and his mercy, and God is able to pull us through it. God is able to pull us through it, but we have to allow him to pull us through it. We have to open up our hearts in order for him to pour into us, to bring us to a place of deliverance. Because as long as I'm closed or I have my eyes closed, I can't see my way through. I can't see the path that God is opening for me in order for me to walk out. If my eyes are closed, I am in darkness. I'm walking in darkness. But when I open my eyes and I look to the hills from which cometh my help, I'm able to see my way out. There is no place where God is not. God does not see us, but there is a place in me where I can't see God. There is a place in us where we can't see God. Sometimes we can't see past the pain. We can't see past the hurt. We can't see past the injustices. But there's a place that we have to go in God. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. God is able to allow God's work to be made perfect in our lives. So gaze on God and allow him to do that thing in your life.
And God helps us. And even through that stuff, sometimes God, the stuff we go through, it's like some people, they're looking for a spouse. They're looking for a friendship. But God is saying they're looking for that promotion. And God says there's still some stuff that I'm working out in you. And it can feel like it's never ending. It feels like I can't reach this goal. I can't achieve what you're asking me to do, God, because don't you see how messed up I am? Mm-hmm. Don't you see my family did A? Do you? And you asking me to do something, and I have this DNA in me that I've been running from all my entire life. I'm just like I'm trying to kill this monster, and you trying to put me in a position that it's gonna, it can come forth of the fear of what might happen. It can come forth, and I'm just like, Jesus, what you? And it's comical because this is me and my relationship with God. Because I'm like, what are you doing? I can chuckle about it because I don't mean any disrespect to God by that, but I'm just like, you asking me to do something that it's not in me, and it's right, and I'm right. It's not in me. It's in God to help me through those times where I'm just like, I can't do this. And he said, I'm with you. I am with you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. He said, the psalmist said, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. That means it's above my capability to understand what God has placed in me.
And the other thing is, I was thinking about, sometimes it's, you did this to me. You did, this happened to me. God, you let this happen to me. Why did you let it happen to me? Well, why shouldn't it happen to you? Why, we live in a life. We're on a journey. What makes you exempt from things that happen in this life? What makes you so great that you should be exempt from everything? So, and a lot of times we have to look at things because it's not God's doing. Some things are our doing, and things that we've done in our past, our parents have done, and they come back up. And so we've set a path, we've set a plan. So one of the things that we have to learn to do, and that I work on, is taking my emotions out of it. Mm-hmm. You got to take your emotions out of it and go past, because if my emotions lead me, I'm going to be on a constant roller coaster ride. I'm going to be on that merry-go-round that they talked about last night, that whatever was making, I can't remember the ride that Tamika talked about that was making her dizzy. I'm going to be on a constant merry-go-round. I'm going to be on a roller coaster ride, and my life is going to be disastrous because my emotions will have me up, down, level to the ground, not knowing whether I'm going or coming. And so I can't depend on my emotions, because oftentimes we're sick in our souls. That's why God says he wants our souls to be restored, because we have sickness. There is sickness in there. There are things that have happened that we have not dealt with. We have not allowed God's word to annihilate the yoke that was formed and deal with the things. And so these other things have come up because of the stronghold that, and sometimes we've been holding on to. There are some things that have happened and things that we've been through. It's not so much that the thing have us. We have the thing. God has been asking for it. God has been doing things to maneuver you out of the place where you are, and we won't let it go. We've allowed it to become a part of us. We've invited it to the family. It has a place on the table. We've become comfortable with it. It's become a part of us. And because of it, because of the stronghold, it holds a very precious place in our hearts. And we can't see ourselves without it. And a lot of times we don't realize that's where we are. So we have to make sure that we're not holding on to the very thing that God's trying to deliver us from, because he sees us. He's already given us a way of escape. But will you take the way of escape? Are you willing to turn the corner? Are you willing to step off the merry-go-round? Are you willing to take the risk beyond your emotions, beyond what you see, beyond what you're familiar with, beyond the people that you're used to? Are you willing to step out there and take the risk and risk getting hurt again? Because God sees you, but are you willing to accept his way and his process of you coming out of it? Or are you going to step out on your own and just jump into something else, which is going to give you more trouble? And so God sees you, but am I looking at God? Am I gazing into his eyes and seeing the direction in which he's guiding me? Because he says he leads us and guides us with his eyes. So am I looking in his eyes and getting direction and guidance from him? The steps of a good man or woman are ordered by the Lord. Am I looking to him for direction, to be the compass, to be the person that makes my way? Because if I'm not looking at him, I won't see where he's taking me. I won't see the direction that he wants. I will miss every turn. If I'm not looking at the turns, if I'm not looking at the way out, if I'm not looking at him for the door that he has laid up for me, I'm going to miss it. But when I'm gazing at his eyes, gazing earnestly at his eyes and looking at what he's laid up for me, and when I consider him, consider God, consider his character, consider everything about him. When we consider God and his character and his goodness and his loving kindness, and I know that I'm his child and he's a good father, I know he's not going to withhold any good thing from me, and he's going to bring me out, even if my emotions say otherwise. Because our emotions will say, you know what, I'm here and God ain't doing it for me. But even when my emotions say otherwise, and that's why it's beneficial for you to have people around you that can help pull you out. I need somebody that can help snatch me out when I'm in a dark place. Help snatch me out of there and help lead me so I don't go back to the darkness.
And just understanding that your relationship with God is so important. Because I talk to God in ways that my wife don't talk to. That maybe pastor and first. Like, I talk to God how my relationship with him is. And that don't mean it doesn't grow and it doesn't mature, but he understands he meets me where I am. And that helps me because by nature, I did a report of just a personality assessment. And it says I will run I run. I mean, when it comes, it ain't that I don't deal with trouble. I don't deal with mess. and so when they come around, I'll be there 1 second, and you'll turn around, and I won't be there. You don't know where I went. I will run because me personally, I don't deal well with that, or just as far as a friendship, relationship, personal relationship level. And so God has to help me because sometimes he puts me there to help people who are dealing with that. And sometimes I don't want to deal with it. But he said, that's why I have you there. I have you there to help those people come out of some of that mess that will mess them up, will mess other people up. And when I started looking at it, it kind of changed my perspective of how God operates. Because I want him to operate sometimes how I see life. And God says, that's not how I see it. He says, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. As far as the heaven is above the earth, so are my ways from your ways. And so when he puts me in a situation where I'm not comfortable, I have to change my mindset to where, okay, purpose. God has me here for a purpose. Your purpose, I put something in you, even though you're scared, even though it's not comfortable, even though this is the furthest thing from just your natural personality. I put something in you. I invested. Don't go bury your talent. Don't bury your talent because you feel afraid. Peter was able to walk on water. He didn't know that God would do that for him. But he was able to walk on water. Mm-hmm. And then he looked around and I tell you, that what gets me when I started looking around, instead of just focus on what God has put in me and let it operate like he wants it to operate, and I started looking around, that's when I get distracted. That's when I have a tendency to want to flee because I'm looking around. Hey, no, God, this ain't working out. And he says, stand still and see the salvation of God. Stand still. Because I know what I put in you. I'm holding you through this. I've strengthened you for it. You just don't know it yet. You don't know what you have in you. And God says, I'm there. I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to talk with you. But sometimes we want to pull the plug. Hey, that didn't work, God. Let me go bury this talent. I'm done. But God says, no, you don't get a chance. You don't get a chance to do that. Get back up. Because if you don't fulfill what God put in you, you'll never be satisfied. It will always have that. You will always have that sense of, I didn't finish. I want to finish. I want to hear him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. It's not so much the circumstances. It's my trust and my look at God. I look at his eyes and my developing relationship with him that I trust you. And that's hard when you come from a background where you didn't trust easily, you didn't trust well. Trusting God is not going to be a natural thing. It's not going to be natural.
In the Psalm 139, when you read it in the Promise Bible, it says verse 16, you saw who you created me to be before I became me. Before I'd even seen the light of day, the number of days you had planned for me were already recorded in your book. Every single moment you are thinking of me. Oh, how precious and wonderful to consider that you cherish me constantly in your every thought. God cherishes us. We're constantly in his every thought. He has us engraven in the palm of his hand, constantly in. Nobody can think of somebody. None of us have someone constantly in our every thought. None of us. But God has us constantly in his every thought. There's not a time that goes by that we are not on his mind. And I guess it gives me comfort to know that even when I'm not doing well, when things are not going well, when I can't think about God, there are times that things can happen in your life when your first mindset ain't calling on the Lord. It don't first come to mind to say a scripture. It don't come to mind to pray. But thanks be to God, he constantly have us on his mind. at all times. And because we're constantly on his mind at all times, he sees us and he's able to administer to us what we need when we need it. Through the avenues that we need it. He knows how to get to us what we need. We are constantly on his mind. Thank God. That gives me comfort to know, because in times where I can't think for myself or I'm having a hard time, I'm on the mind of God, and God sees me, and he already has a plan for me. Knowing it says, oh God, your desires toward me are more than the grains of the sand. It reminds me that, he knows the plan that he thinks toward us. His plans for us are greater than what we have. He does exceeding abundantly above all that we can even ask or think. So even when we're at our worst moments, God says, I have great plans for you. I want you to prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm prospering. I don't feel like being in health. I don't feel like warring. I don't feel like fighting. Sometimes we get tired. We get weary. I get weary. There are days in which I'm like, Lord, I don't think this is going to work out today, Lord. But you know what? God keeps us and he sustains us. Even at our weakest points, God is able to lift us up. He will hold us up if we allow him to. If we allow him to, he undergirds us with his love. So that's why we have to keep our focus on him and look to him, because I can't always hold myself up. It's not in me. It's in him that I live, I move, I have my being. So I have to depend and trust fully on him. Cory was talking about the fact that it's not easy to trust when you've been in situations where you can't trust people. Let's face it, we have parents that have let us down. Then you get a relationship with people, whether male or female, that let you down. Then you have friendships, things fall apart. You get on jobs, and there's a place where things have let down. It didn't quite go the way that you wanted it to go. And you put your trust in all these people. You put your trust in things. You put your trust in different things. And then those things drop out. The bottom drop out of it. And then we're at a place where we're lost. Then it's like I put up a wall to guard myself and to protect myself from these outward influences. But in putting up a wall, I've walled out the very person that I needed to be in there with me. And putting up those walls to protect myself from everybody else, the outside forces, I put up barriers to protect myself really against God. And we need God in here with us. I need him when there's a storm raging in my life, I need God in the storm with me. But if I built a barrier, if I built a fortress around myself to protect my emotions, to protect me from being hurt again, to protect me from being injured because you've wounded me in the house of God, I'm wounded in the house of my friends, wounded by the people that were supposed to love me, talked about by the people that were supposed to love me. I've been hurt in the church. Yes, yes, yes. Those things affect us. And so we need God to help us in order to open us back up to trust again and be able to build relationships based on, good relationships that are going to be beneficial to us, relationships that are going to help us. But we must know that God sees, and he will lead us and guide us in a way for those people that are needed to be in your inner circle. He sees you. He sees you, and he see. I was thinking when we were talking. I was thinking about the song. He looks beyond all my faults, and he sees my needs. He looks beyond my faults, and we all have them. None of us are perfect, but God looks beyond all my faults and my flaws, and he sees my needs. And it's not for me to stay there. He sees my needs, and he helps me out of there so I can become better, not so I can stay in the place that I'm at. He looks beyond my faults, and he sees my needs and gives me the instruction on how to fix them. Puts people in our lives on how to fix the very thing that we've been warring against, on how to get healed from it, on how to be delivered from it, on how to be brought out, on how to annihilate the generational curses, how to annihilate and destroy those things that have been holding us captive and those things that we've been holding on to.
And I think Brother James hit it yesterday. He said stuff that comes up in us that had nothing to do with us, that our forefathers, faced. And I'm just like, and I was telling Angela, I said when I hit my mid to early 40s, I was struggling. I just like, because, I learned, because I didn't know a lot about my family history, and then I started learning, and then I just like, and a lot of it started making sense for me, but it also brought a lot of fear. And I just like, I felt the need to isolate myself. I said, Lord, I'm not strong enough to deal with this. I said, I got my own set of problems that, I'm facing right now. I don't need their problems to come up against. I don't need that right now. And he said, I am more than the world against you. I am your help. He said they were already there. You just found out about it. Mm-hmm. You just found out about it. And so when you just find out some information, it can be quite shocking. Right. It can throw you for a loop. It can throw you into, like, I can't deal with that. I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because if I will never put more on you than able to bear. Right. Because I was bolder when I was younger. I told God, even at my job, when I was a leader, I said, give me the worst people because I know I can pull something out of them. I know I can pull something out of them. I know I can. You just have to find that right switch. Mm-hmm. But in that, I got weary. Because it's work. Right. It's work helping people. It's work helping people. I ran from this profession. I ran from being a counselor for years. Angela, you probably need to, it's in your family history. I ran from it. You're not going to get me to do that. I'm not doing that. But when I'm there, it's the most natural thing in the world to me. It's the most natural thing. It's what I'm supposed. There's not a time when I'm in there that I don't feel like this is not what I'm supposed to be. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's also a conflict because when you invest in people, you're giving of yourself. And God says, and you have to have those times. And I was like, God, renew my strength so I can help your people. And sometimes, God, renew my strength so I can help myself. Because you can get lost in helping people. You can get lost in doing good. God, and that's a dangerous place. Because when you help and give so much, you can lose yourself. And you can get into a corner and just like, did God really see me? I'm doing all this stuff, but nobody's doing this for me. Nobody's seeing me while I'm helping. Nobody's reaching out like I'm reaching out. In a time that I need some energy. I need some strength right now, and I need somebody there. But it seems like there's nobody there.
Right. And that's the trick of, we have to be aware of that. I'm glad you brought that up because the trick of the enemy will have us to believe that nobody's in our corner. Mm-hmm. Nobody's experiencing this. Nobody is there for us. Nobody knows what we're going through. I'm doing all this, Lord, and nobody else is doing it. I got 7,000 in the cave. What are you talking about? There are other people available, but we only see us. And we're saying, God, you don't see me. And then we coming to church. And in the church, they constantly say, God's going to do this. And God's going to make a way. And God's going to bring you out. And then it's 10 years and it's 15 years. And God, and it ain't turned around. God, I'm still here. And we're jumping and we're shouting and spinning around. And God's going to do it. God's going to do it. And the expectation I had, because hope was deferred, my heart grew sick, my heart grew weary. And you a saint and you ain't supposed to be weary. You're not supposed, if I wasn't supposed to grow weary and tired, God knew we would grow weary and tired. That's why he says, don't get weary in well doing, because in due season you're going to reap if you faint not. And then he also says, if we do get weary, we can cast our cares on him. If we get burdened, come to me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, those that are weary, and I will give you rest. But we feel like God doesn't see us because it's been prolonged. And we keep saying, and you're supposed to quote the word because the word works. But we don't understand God's timing. Our timing is not God's timing. We have to go through God's process and believe that God still hears us and that he's going to do it for me. Oftentimes, we don't think he's going to do it for us. God is going to do it for me. So when my expectation of what God is going to do has been brought down because I've waited, or he didn't do it the way I thought he would do it. I wanted you to go over and put your hands over the water and do some kind of, I wanted some kind of great thing. And God just said, go and dip, go and do this. But I wanted some kind of great thing, and I didn't get that. So now I'm messed up because he didn't do it the way that I wanted it to do it. And I'm feeling like through all this, I'm feeling like God's not seeing me because now, it's something wrong. I'm working the word. Why the word that I'm working not working? Mm-hmm. Why is this word that I'm working not working? There's nothing wrong with God's word. we have to go back and re-look, go back and examine, do what I exam. Go back and examine some things and make sure we got everything in place. God's timing, in his timing. His ways are not our ways. In his time. His time is not like ours. It's in God's time. God knows everything about us. He said, when we look at Psalms 39, he knows my inner workings and he knows everything that's going on the inside of me. Sometimes if he give it to you right now, you're going to lose your mind. Sometimes you can't handle what he's going to do. So he sees you, but he wants the time to be right, because when he blesses you, he wants us to maintain what he gives us. He wants us to be able to handle. He doesn't want us to lose the blessings. The blessings of the Lord are rich and they addeth no sorrow. The blessings of the Lord. But God can give us something, and if we were not ready for it, we can lose our mind and lose the very thing that he's blessed us with. So we have to be careful with that, and just know that he sees you. Even as you're working your word, don't stop working your word. He sees you. He hears you. He's El Roi. He sees you. He hears you. He that made the ear, shall he not hear? He hears you. Just keep moving. Keep working that word. Keep rubbing yourself with God's word, because the word, his word cannot return unto him void. His word, you plant that seed. Every seed that you plant will grow, but you got to plant it and you got to keep watering it. Go ahead and water it with God's word. Water it. You plant it and you water it with some more word. God's got you.
And this made me think of Exodus chapter 3, 6 through 9 when we was going through this, because this is a demonstration of how life can go down. And then when it's time for God to bring us out, we have to be ready to accept it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to read Exodus 3, 6 through 9, this King James Version. It says, moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face and was afraid to look upon God. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters. For I know their sorrows, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land into a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, cry unto the children of Israel. The cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. And this one got me, because it wasn't one day they were being oppressed. It wasn't a month. This was several hundred years, and they had oppressed them. And God, after you've been in something for so long, like Pastor been saying, you can develop a numbness to it. It becomes a part of, like Sister Angela said, it can become part of your everyday life where, okay, it's not going to get better. So your mind has locked into survival mode. I'm just going to survive this. It's not going to get any better. I'm not going to. And you saw what the children of Israel did. They said, God ain't sent you. God ain't sent you. But he did proof. And then when something else happened, didn't we tell you don't bother us? Didn't we tell you it was better for us to serve the Egyptian? It was better for us, because your hopes had been dashed. It wasn't God's time yet, or it wasn't time, or was it the right choice, or was it the right direction where you were going? And your sense of purpose has gotten watered down. It's got to a place where it can't grow anymore. It has not grown anymore. And God says, I have come to deliver you. Mm-hmm. But not only were they being treated bad by the Egyptians, they were seeing their worship, they were seeing their false gods, and it had become part of them. Mm-hmm. And so God has to when he brought them out, we saw that come out. And so when you're going through your situation, your circumstance, you have to ask God to help wash me, help cleanse me, help take out of me what I have learned that's not like you, what I have put in myself sometimes. Because we medicate. Right. When we're going through stuff, we medicate. And so if you're not medicating with the Word of God and it's time to move, they were hesitant to move. And God said, it's time to go now. It's time to go. But they were weighed down by the pain, the hurt, the disappointment. And so you have to be in a constant state of renewing. Even though it hurts, You have to let God renew, refresh, recreate, reissue that purpose unto you, because you can lose it in the midst of pain.
Right. We have to ask God to purify us. Israel was in Egypt for over 400 years. And, you know, it had already been told, God had already forestated what he was going to do in Genesis, how they were going to be held captive because of their disobedience. It was because of their own doing. And as Cory was talking about, how they picked up some habits. They picked up some things from the Egyptians. And as God brought them out, God, you know, God will give you a time. You have to, as God is seeing us, he's seeing what we picking up. He's seeing some habits that we develop. And in that period where we're preparing for us ourselves to come out. When God told Israel to prepare, he gave them instructions on what to do. And as they were preparing themselves, as they were getting themselves ready, they brought some people with them. They brought the mixed multitude with them. They brought things. So things came out with them. Yes, you know, when their bodies were delivered, their minds were still there. Their minds were stuck in the place. Their minds were still in prison. So there are times where, yes, God sees us, but he allows us to go through the process to get our minds out of the prisons that they have been in. My body may not still be in Egypt, but if my mind is in Egypt, if I take my body to a promised land, I'm going to turn that very promised land that God gave me into Egypt. You can see a beautiful mansion. Somebody's blessed with a beautiful mansion. It's beautiful, but they were never delivered from their poverty and the way that they had things and their dysfunctions and their filth and dirtiness. You'll see they'll make that very place. If they had, if they were in a place in a slum or wherever they were, and they had like a junkyard right in their car, in their front yard. Guess what? With that front yard will turn into a junkyard over time. Because my mind is still in the place where that I came from, because I wasn't truly delivered. So God allow us to go through a path where we're able to get delivered and able to get free from the bondages that we picked up. Remember, God sees us. He knows everything about us. He knows our inner working. So those very things that we don't know that are in us, because sometimes we feel like, I'm not thinking about it right now, or because it hasn't come back up, I think I'm over something. No, God knows what's in us. He knows our outer workings, and we get that one thing to press that button, and that thing come back up again. It's alive, and I know it. It's still alive. Oh yeah, you'll still fight. Oh, you'll still fight. I had to realize that one day. It's alive, and Angela, the Lord had to help me. Before I knew it, I was like, that is not what I'm supposed to be doing. It's still in you. God knows what's in us. And so he takes us through steps to get those very things out of us so that we won't take them into the promised land. God says it, and he's doing it. He is doing it. We have to trust him as he does it, and allow ourselves to break and destroy those things that have been following us, those things that we've been running from, those generational things that have been plaguing us, those things that have been tormenting us, those fears that have been holding us captive. I got a sound mind. Get up in the morning and tell yourself, I got a sound mind. I'm not losing my mind. I'm not going crazy. I'm not lacking anything. Get up and speak to yourself every morning, and to destroy and annihilate those yokes. We have to open ourselves up. When you go to the counselor, when I go to my therapist, I get comfortable. I lay on the couch and I start talking. And I open myself up. Get yourself in a comfortable position and just get real with God. Get real with your counselor. Get real with yourself. First, you got to get real to yourself so you can make it to God and the counselor. Because sometimes we ain't honest with ourselves. Get real with yourself about where you are, how you feel, what's been going on in your life. Lord, this ain't it. This is not it. I feel like walking off and leaving me. This is not the place where I want to be. I feel like going to buy a bread house, Jesus. This is not it. I'm going to go by the bread store. And I know you have better for me. Get up and speak to yourself. Become real with you. Get honest with yourself. Take the mask off. Get honest with yourself. And then I can look at, then focus yourself on God. Focus yourself on God and allow him to open you up and heal you. Because if we keep it covered, if we keep the fig leaves on, God can't get there. Yes, he's able to do great things, but God's not going to push you beyond what you allow him. He's not going to push you beyond. He's not going to go to a place that you're not inviting him into. So we have to invite him into, he sees it already, but he wants us to come to him. Come boldly to the throne of grace, and you're going to obtain mercy in your time of need. We are all in a time of need right now. We are all in a time of need. So we can go boldly to him, and we're going to obtain mercy, and we're going to get favor in our time of need. He hears us, he sees us, and he's going to answer us. But we got to, sometimes, I know I do this sometimes to people. They come and they beat around the bush when they want something from me. They beat around the bush. They don't come out and ask me. And sometimes, yeah, you do it. I do it too. But I sometimes they'll beat around the bush for things. And so I just sit there. I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait. And then when they ask me, I already have it. I already know. But because when you ask me, and that's what God wants. He wants us to ask him. We have access to it. The access has been granted. But we got to open up our mouths to, it's the God is voice activated. The kingdom of heaven is voice activated. Open up your mouth and speak to your Father and tell him what you have need of. Let him know where you are. He already knows, but you talk to him. You talk to him. Let him know where you are. Tell him what's hurting you. Tell him what's ailing you. He sees you. He sees you and he wants to help you. But if you don't go for the help that he's trying to get you, you're not gonna get it. If you don't open it up, and now Siri trying to help me. Siri trying to help me. But if you don't open yourself up and go get the help, go get the help. God has an X-ray. He knows everything. Sometimes we go to the doctors and we won't open up and tell them what's going on and what's going on. Because I think Tamika mentioned this just that we are ashamed or we're embarrassed. We're ashamed and we won't open up to get the help. You don't have to be embarrassed by God. We have a high priest who was able to be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. We don't have to be embarrassed by him. He's not going to be surprised when you tell him how you feel. He see you. He's not going to be surprised. He's not going to take a gasp when you say, ooh, I can't stand him. Yeah, saints can't stand people too. I don't like them. I don't like nothing about them. They remind me of my daddy. Whatever it is, they remind me of my mama. They look funny. Whatever it is, God's not gonna be surprised. He knows. He knows. God, I'm angry with you. I can't believe you let this. I can't believe you did this. And oftentimes, I tell people God didn't do it. God didn't do it, but we feel that way because God knows everything, or God sees. He's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. He's all powerful, and we feel like God did it. But God is not going to be shocked when you say, "Lord, I'm upset with you in regards to this situation." But the thing about us is we don't know everything, and so God knew the whole picture. But There's a situation I remember with my cousin, and he died, and the way he died, and I loved him. That was my heart. And he died, and it just didn't go well. And for years, he died on his birthday. I was supposed to be going to his birthday party. For years, I told God, I can't believe you let this happen. Now it was grief. Every year his birthday came, I couldn't take it. Every year, I would cry. I was in a depression every year. And I told God, finally, I was able to open up. And I was afraid to dream. I'm saying dream in my sleep. I told God, don't, if you're going to show me stuff and you're going to tell me to pray about something, don't tell me to pray about it. Don't open it up to me if I can't do nothing to help it. Yeah. If I can't stop it. If I can't do anything to stop a situation, don't have me praying for folk and it ain't going to matter. Well, we don't see the big picture. It could have been worse. It could have been much worse. What happened could have happened at the birthday party, and it could have been many more. And so we have to see the bigger picture. And when God began to just open me up and I began to see God and not see what was done. When I began to see God and see God's love for me, and God sent somebody to just talk to me that didn't even know me, that didn't know the situation, but they told me the situation that I was going through. And I realized, God, you see me and you've heard me. Every time I was in that bed crying, you heard me every time. And I just said, Lord, I'm angry. Because I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting this to go down like this. I'm angry with you because I wasn't expecting to lose my loved one. He was my favorite. He was my boy. And I just wasn't expecting it. And God says, I got you. I loved you. It could have been much worse, but I had it covered. I didn't know what God had done, but God sent other people. We have free will. God sent other people. And in that, I saw, and when we're able to go beyond, when we know God is love, He's kind, He's gentle, and our minds are able to go beyond what we see and what we feel. And we know when we know they're in the hands of a just God versus what I think and where I think people are, because that's where my mind went. Where I think people are because of the certain situation, but the circumstance, they're in the hands of a just loving God. And God allowed me the opportunity to lead them to him in a place where he could show his love to them. And so, even in that, I was wounded because I wasn't expecting it. So when your expectation is dropped, even when dealing with God, it's okay to express that and tell God how you feel. He sees you, he knows, but he wants us to talk to him and lay it all out on the table. God's not going to leave us without hope. He always gives us a way of escape. He always gives us what we need, but we have to be open to receiving of him. If I go to God and my hands are closed and my eyes are closed, I'll never receive what he has for me. If, someone wants to bless me with millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars and I never accept it, I never extend my hands to receive it, or I never give them the necessary information to deposit the funds in my account, I won't receive it. So we have to give God the necessary information to download and deposit the healing and the deliverance that we need so that I can be healed, so that I can be free. I don't have to walk around in fear. I don't have to walk around depressed. We don't have to walk around the way we are. But we got to open up. Open up to God. He sees you. He sees you. He says he's looking at you always, continually. When ain't nobody else looking, he looking at you. You on his mind always, 24/7, 24 hours a day. When you sleep, you on God's mind. When you awake, you on God's mind. When you doing stuff, he saw you when you did that too. He saw that too. When you did that, he saw you and he was still there with you. God ain't jumping out of us. Lo, I'm with you always, even unto the end of the age. God sees us. And we, he sees us and he loves us and he wants to be a part of us. But we got to embrace him. Look at him. Look at him. Look to him. Turn our eyes off the things and look at God. Take our focus off what's going on in the inside of us and look to God. And I've been talking a lot. All right.
And so, God is amazing towards us. And so, and one of the things that Angela asked me was why did I think about this? Because like she said, I said, it's been over 100,000 people that died. And we've been praying. And they still die, but we don't know the total picture of what God is doing through our prayers and being continued, because some people are being strengthened through our prayers that normally wouldn't have any strength. It's people on the verge of suicide. There's people on the verge of divorce. There's people on the verge. We can't see the whole picture. And really, it's not our job to see the whole picture. Right. That's God's stuff. Let God be God. Just let us be obedient to what he says do in our lives, in our daily lives. Seek me first. Get in my face, get in my presence. And it can be a struggle, because I'm behind on my reading, and I really shouldn't be, but this has been a struggle. I thought I was prepared for something like this. I really did. I thought, because I knew it was coming. I knew something like this was coming. And so I thought I was prepared to be, I thought I was going to be helping people and doing this and doing this and doing, and then I found myself getting overwhelmed. When the civil unrest happened, that really just kind of deflated me, because it brought back my own struggles with it. Because I told Angela, I was telling other people, I said, it's got me just so fearful because what somebody's thinking about me just because I am a black male. Mm-hmm. It was, and I had to come out. I had to come out of that. I said, if they feel like they got to call the police on me, then just let. I'll sit there and wait with you. I will sit here and wait. We will have some dialogue and discussion, because I cannot walk in fear. I cannot live like this. Right. I can't operate like this. And that's the same thing God is telling. These can be fearful times. This is unprecedented for us. And so we cannot walk in fear, because it will do more damage than the actual getting the virus will ever do to you. Right. Getting the virus can mess you up physically, but the fear will destroy you physically as well, mentally, emotionally. You will, like I said, if I don't catch and keep myself, I'm a runner. I'll hide from trouble dealing with people in a minute. But that's not what God called me to be. That's not what he called me. That's not even who I am. God made me bold as a lion, and I'm getting that back, because that's what he put something in me. to help people, and that's what I'm going to do. And you gonna have to look death in the face. You're gonna have to look the enemy in the face and tell them whatever God allows. That's what's gonna be. But I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna trust in the Lord with all my heart, and I'm gonna keep moving forward, because living in fear is worse. It's worse than any sickness you can get, because you can actually not get the sickness and make yourself sick,
right?
Physically sick. And so you have to watch it. You have to watch it. Now, I'm talking to me too, because it's been hard on me, and I didn't think it was gonna be. Not in this way, because I hate seeing people struggle and see people dying. But it has affected me emotionally, and I have to get to a place where God gets hold, so I can get my footing back. Right. We have to get our footing back, because you're human, and we seeing all this, and it has affected me. Right. I don't know about y'all, but it has. Right.
And no matter where you are, remember this what you've been through and what you're going through, what you're facing. It ain't catch God by surprise. It caught us by surprise. But even in that, even if you slipped up, made some mistakes, things are not going on the course that you thought, even if you've grown weary, you are still who God says you are. God still sees you as a more than a conqueror. He still sees you as an overcomer. It has not negated the fact that God says he has great plans for you. And he does. It has not negated the fact that he begun a good work in you, and he shall perform it. So go to him. Trust in him who will not leave you. He knows the thoughts that he thinks towards you. God says he wants you to prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So what you're going through, it has not, what you've experienced, it has not changed God's mind about you. God says you still great. You are still awesome. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. You are the apple of his eye. You are his masterpiece. But he wants us to walk in that. Go out today and frame your world. Change your world. Change your world with your words. Go out today. Change your world by realizing God sees you, and gaze on him. He's gazing on us, but gaze on him, knowing that he that shall come, he will come, and he's not going to tarry. Trust God. God bless you, and we thank you for your patience. Remember, contact us at actsministriesonline.org and send your prayer requests to WTEbroadcast@gmail.com. God bless you, and remember that God sees you.
God sees you.